Hello and a warm welcome to a very special podcast series, SheDiaries, Trailblazers. This is a series in conversation with trailblazing women from all across the world, from South America to North America to Africa to Asia and many other parts of the world. During their distinguished careers, they have smashed many glass ceilings, surmounted many odds, and broken multiple silos. They have set templates for young girls to follow their footsteps. They have had inspiring stories that others are following. My guest for this episode today is one such woman. Rupinder Brar, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Coal, Government of India. She's one of those trailblazing women who has carved out a significant space in a leadership role in what is otherwise considered to be a quote-unquote male-dominated sector. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you.
You know, ma'am, the energy sector has traditionally been a bit of a boys' club, male-dominated. Tell us something about your experience.
It is, continues to be in many ways still a male dominated, I would say. But what is very heartening to see, and that is happening across the world, and so also in India, that the number of women who are now coming into the world of mining is just growing, and it's growing every year. Currently, if I look at Coal India itself, we have about 10% of the overall employees being women, which was unheard of some years back. But what is even more encouraging is that these are not women who are doing desk jobs anymore. Right. They're actually going into the mine. There are engineers who are doing underground mining. There are women who are doing the night shifts also. There are also women that are part of the rescue teams for any miners that get trapped. So the kind of roles that they are expanding. So one is the numbers. The other is the kind of roles that they are essaying out is growing by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting that you say that these are not women who are doing only desk jobs. So you're not just making up for the numbers. You're not ticking the boxes, but they're actually, a fair bit of leveling out of the field is also taking place.
That's
here,
right.
Which also points to the fact that probably more and more girls and women are choosing STEM as a career, because this is a very high engineering, right in the heart of engineering.
Yes.
And mathematics and technology, of course. In your career, in your own personal individual career, did you come across any kind of prejudices or biases which is gender specific? And during the journey, do you think those have got significantly diminished?
So in a sense, I wouldn't really call them obstacles, but when you say prejudices, there is somewhere a latent prejudice where you can sense that if it's a male supervisory officer or your colleagues around you, they will have a sense that, maybe she cannot deliver as much.
Okay.
However, it is really up to you also to counter that. Because people have grown up in the society with a lot of nuanced things that we all learn. And a lot of it is quite uninformed and uneducated, just because somebody didn't get an opportunity to see women around their lives working. In my case, for example, my mother was working. I was born and she was already working. So people do come with stereotypes in their head, and people do come with something which makes them not understand, I would say, or appreciate. However, it goes away really fast. And if I say in my own case, personal case, I think at every step, if somebody had it in their mind, or if they felt that there could be some kind of a limitation, it was pretty soon eliminated.
Absolutely. Very delighted to hear that. How do you balance energy security with sustainability and innovation, because on many occasions they could pull in different directions. I'll just give you an example. For instance, India now is the fastest growing major economy, the world's fourth largest, and soon we are going to be the third largest. Not a question of when, maybe a year there or a year there too, but we're bound to get there very soon. So clearly, the demand for energy to meet this rising growth is going to only grow. How do we balance the need for rising growth with ecological imperatives?
So, a very pertinent question, and especially in the given times where we as a country, as you rightly said, are growing and growing at a very fast pace, and that pace is only going to be accelerated. So, whether it is the demand of the urbanization or industrialization, or even the sheer use of data, which also requires a lot of energy, there is clearly going to be a lot of demand. But India at this point in time is also poised to grow its energy sector also.
Right.
And if we look at the policies that the government has in place today, I think there's that fine balance of understanding that yes, we need to use the traditional sources of energy, but we also need to ramp up the renewables. Also looking at, I think if you follow the news recently, the government has also had a relook at the nuclear power energy sector. So the idea thereby being that over a period of time, we should create the right balance between the fossil fuels and the non-fossil sources of energy, but also along with that, and that's where I think India is doing all the right things, is to address the issues of just transitioning.
Right.
And when we say just transition, I'm very happy to share with anyone who's listening to this podcast is that not only are we looking just at the trees or just the water,
Yeah.
we're actually looking at the people.
Hmm.
The kind of community engagement that is now a part of the mining process is very heartwarming.
Absolutely.
And that's something I have learned after joining this sector. And I'm happy that in some ways one is contributing to the role that is being assigned to the communities that are part of the mining process.
But do you think there are structural barriers for girls to get into energy and mining sectors in India and also otherwise because of the nature of the industry?
Well, yes, definitely. Like any other job, this is peculiar. And every job has its own kind of requirements, and mining does have its own kind of requirement. One, of course, being the sheer number of hours that you need to be there. And if we need more women to come, clearly there is also a need to create the supportive structures that would be required, and that doesn't just apply to the women. I always say that to our HR teams that are planning good policies for women is that in today's world and in today's India, almost you find that in every household, the men and the women both are heading out to work.
Right.
And as a society, you don't want to be confronted with a situation where you don't have enough support systems to bring up your children.
Right.
So it's an equally important aspect for the men. I mean,
Right.
even a father is equally concerned about the growth of their children, isn't it? So it's important that our organizations create good structures, good support mechanisms, both for the the men and the women, to be able to bring their children into safety of good upbringing.
Yeah.
So that's important. The other, of course, are also some of the policies that do need to come to take care of the specific needs of women health, because both genders have their specific requirements. So very important to have good screenings. Also creating those little enclaves of leave when women do need to
Right.
go to give birth, because again, procreation is a very important function
Right.
for us. And so the organizations do need to be sensitive to all that.
And you are also a policymaker. What kind of policy framework would you recommend for encouraging more and more women to join the core industries?
So one is that every employer needs to be definitely, and we do say that we all are, but needs to be truly equal opportunity.
Right.
And there definitely needs to be no difference in the salaries, in the pay scales, and in public sector undertakings, that is made sure of. And there shouldn't be any inherent disadvantage inbuilt if you're taking off for logical reasons.
Right.
I think because that's something that we see, that the attrition rate for women in certain industries seems to be higher than in the others. So building networks, making sure the policies are supportive of women is very essential. In the programs in the colleges itself, there has to be, from the employer perspective, when you go campus hiring, you should be looking at hiring at least half the women.
Right.
Because in today's India, if you go to the engineering colleges, unlike when we were growing up and girls were few in an engineering class, that is no longer the case. There are, in most colleges that I check with, I keep meeting the young engineering students, is that there's almost half and half. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they need to, the hiring pattern needs to reflect that also.
Absolutely. And finally, what advice would you give to a young girl who, aspires to get into the world of public administration?
Believe in yourself, have strong convictions, keep capacity building yourself, because learning is a lifelong process. Do not stop at any juncture thinking you've done enough, and keep looking around the world to learn the best practices, which is part of one's capacity building. But at the same time, also the need to develop supportive and collaborative networks is very important. And third and most crucial, I think, for humanity at large and women, because we are blessed with that, I think just a little bit more, do keep your empathy so that we make a good society together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am, for those very inspiring words. It's a great note to end this conversation with. Thank you so much for taking the time out and dropping by to have this
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you for having me.